First topic on the itinerary is Yu-Gi-Oh! Nostalgia Month 2019. I am very happy to announce that there has been success in this front. Although there was relatively little community involvement, we still managed to make a pretty good playlist of videos. I'm excited. I think that my contributions were adequate. There definitely is a little bit of roughness, and I admit that there is a small slump in quality at the end. It was just too big of a project to try to do all in 1 month. Next time I'm going to start it the month beforehand and space out the workload a little bit. Overall, the topics were very fun. It was nice to start incorporating a little bit of live action. I do think that there is a bit of a weakness, perhaps more video, but copyright management is a little bit harder to determine when you're using video rather than still images. Overall, I think it was good. A nice experience. Covered some niche topics which not necessarily were so important. I did notice that DZF and Farfa did cover similar topics, just happened to coincide with the month. Maybe a little bit of incidental nostalgia overlap. I'm not bothered by it though. It was fun looking back on Beckett or the music or just the run of Pojo. Very exciting events this month. And I am looking forward to doing it next year. There's going to be a little bit of a video game block where I explore some of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Video games that I played through. I'm looking for more music, probably another anime discussion video. That one was quite fun to arrange, but it did take a lot of research. Probably focus on another aspect of the game, maybe one of the offshoots. I do think that Capsule Monsters is something that I'm going to look at eventually, but Dungeon Dice Monsters might take priority. There was a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Side products to investigate. I do think that another round of Jeopardy might be arranged, but it was actually pretty hard to find decent questions this year. If anyone has how to find just very good questions in a sense that they're challenging but not esoteric, in a sense that they're exciting and new and fun and involved but not impossible. It's really a fine line because everyone has their own unique experience with the game, and that is part of what I wanted to highlight on Yu-Gi-Oh! Nostalgia Month, is that each person has their own Yu-Gi-Oh! Story, their own progress with their deck, their ideas, their friends, their play group, their locals. Oh, I remember all sorts of things from when I was a kid. Taking very poor care of my cards is like among the most important thing to take from it. There was so many things that I'm upset about. Just, I had a Japanese first edition Mirage Knight, and was one of the first cards I ever owned, and I have no idea where it went. I have an English Mirage Knight now, so it's not like it's the biggest deal, but it was just little cool things like that I don't have anymore. I remember losing my Dark Magician Girl for a full year, and just, I couldn't find it. I looked everywhere, and my mom had it. I don't know why my mom had it, but that's okay. Keeping cards in jars, going to your local tournament and just having plastic jars or rubber bands full of cards. And of course, no deck limits and no extra deck limits, so you brought every single card you owned and then just kept it in your extra deck. Lots of little details like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know extemporaneous speaking is not my strongest point, but that's okay. Next year, there might be just a ramble video where I talk about the things that I miss in the game, not necessarily with panged longing, but more so as a celebration of what used to have happen. That doesn't mean that it doesn't happen anymore. There's still that excitement and new people filtering into the game, and obviously there's new exploration of the game. You discover and you learn and you grow a little bit each day, especially if you want to be challenged in the game. That being said, I do expect for there to be more content, better announcement online, make sure that the community knows that it's an event, clearly define that it's open for everyone, because that was a bit of a stumbling block for people, is that they didn't know how to participate, and some people had questions about whether or not their submission was taken. but that's okay. That's a problem for next year. I do think that there is going to be another big event, but the next big event on my end is going to be in October. I'm going to have a celebration of all the spooky things. But as far as community events, I might organize a tournament in the future, which would be interesting. Some level of play. The hardest part about that is that all the different people have to participate in a tournament structure, and not everyone plays the meta deck. In fact, a lot of people are time locked into their own little bubble of when they took the most enjoyment from the game. And it varies from person to person. It could be when they had their friend group or their favorite character in the anime, or when they first started, or even when they rediscovered the game and were brought into a new level of complexity and design space. I know for me in particular, I do have longing for GOAT format because it was a good format, but then I did experience all of Zexal, and Zexal was great. It was strategic, not too slow, every move felt meaningful. There were some explosive combos, but it wasn't too focused on OTKs, and most importantly, trap cards were very valuable. It's important for the game pace, in my opinion, that trap cards are viable, just because they are an integral part of the game, and in fact, they used to be a third of your deck, maybe half your deck, were trap cards in slower formats. And now you see maybe the inclusion of the staple 5, or sometimes no traps at all. Just the focus on first turn advantage, building a board, or setting up an OTK, or even an FTK in a lot of cases, is so important in the modern day of Yu-Gi-Oh! I do think, in retrospect, I miss Plant Synchro for a lot of the same reasons. I really wish I had been playing around the time of Plant Synchro, because I was running Plant Synchro style decks in Zexal, and a lot of them got outclassed, but there was also a lot of tuner and synchro support in Zexal, so it wasn't that big of a deal. To me, the big shift was probably in pendulums, just how repeated resource recursion every single turn fundamentally changed one of the tenets of the games. Like in Magic, how Yawgmoth's Will means that you can play all of your cards again. It just breaks the balance point of the game. So recurrent pendulum summon. Every single turn you get 5 resources back was a little bit backbreaking. I've played older decks, even really strong decks like Dad Return against pendulums, and you just can't out-resource them in some situations. But then, of course, Master Rule 4 changed that, and that's a story for another day. There will be a retrospective on pendulum summoning, on just how the game has changed, the speed of the game and general complexity, how it always seems to be increasing, and increasing faster. But overall, I think Nostalgia Month is an important facet of the channel in order to look back and see how the game has changed. One foot in the past, head in the clouds, trying to live in the moment. I think looking back and looking at the present is how we learn to deal with the future. And I'm excited for the future, because there's more nostalgia in the future and more things to remember fondly.